You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Oh, beautiful, full spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Patriots and Petticoats, it is my pleasure to welcome you aboard Flight 1776 with service to the United States of America and continuing service to a more perfect union. Federal regulations require that carry-on items are stowed prior to closing the aircraft door. Your items may be placed in an overhead compartment or completely under the seat in front of you. Use caution when placing items in or removing them from the overhead compartment, and let us know if we may assist you. In order to expedite the boarding process, please be seated as quickly as possible after stowing your items and take a moment to review the Constitution and Declaration of Independence located on the device in your pocket. If you are unable or unwilling to perform the functions as described on those documents, please let us know and we will find a more suitable destination for you. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to spending our evening with you. Hello, everyone.
Great.
Welcome to Patriots and Petticoats. I am literally Heather here with my two co-hosts, Chris and Eric from Patriot Sports Radio, and we are happy to be with you this evening on this 8:30, just kidding, 8:46 time slot. I apologize. It's 100% my fault. I had to put makeup on. I looked like a disaster, so...
So in real life, we actually had to text Heather to tell her we were going to be late. That's
Yeah, but
literally
you
what
guys
happened.
were here. I was the one that was late.
No, our show didn't even end till 7:33, so we weren't here.
Okay. So the extra past the 33 minutes was my fault. But with that being said, we are excited to be here with you guys this evening and discuss all of the things that are taking place right now. Specifically, I guess maybe I want to start with the Jason Aldean controversy. And do you guys even know what I'm talking about? Like, are you aware?
yes.
Okay. So I'm
I
gonna
haven't listened to
start.
the song yet.
Okay, well, I'm so
I wish
glad
it was
you
a
said that,
better
Chris,
song.
because I actually, yeah, it's really not a great song. Like,
not
that's
a
part
great
of the problem.
song.
Like, I'm not like super pumped.
Is it
about,
a deep cut? Is it like, let's throw this in there to finish the album kind of deal?
It's a song somebody else wrote that's just chock full of messaging, and the lyrics are a little clunky.
Okay, I'm gonna play a little bit of the song for you because I went ahead and pulled that clip. And
it's like you ordered Toby Keith from Lit.
We can kind of offer our... Okay, so what's interesting is in this video, the clips of some of the violence, not all of it, but much of it, are real. They're not
carjacking old lady at a red light.
like theatrical. They're not like they created.
Yeah.
They're actual like
You think it's
robbery.
cool, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
Okay, so he is saying
He
don't
goes on to
try that
explain
stupid shit in a small town. Like, I think that's very I think it's
Was it
very
racist?
clear.
What was there racism in it? Is it later?
Yes.
Well,
There
he
is
goes on to
racism.
explain that his granddaddy left him a shotgun, and if you come to a small town and start lighting shit on fire, you're probably
You ain't
gonna
gonna get shot with a shotgun down
Yeah.
there. You gonna get shot with an AR-14 in your fucking head. Straight
AR-14.
up.
So
Ain't nobody shooting you with a shotgun down there
I think I'm
anymore.
gonna name my fantasy football team the AR-14s this year, with Joe Biden as my mascot.
Everything he said so far is the truth. I don't know what.
yeah,
And it's
so
that is just a typical. That is purely Jason Aldean. That's every album, every deep track on every album, pretty much.
yeah,
This song has been pulled from CMT because it's too violent.
not just
So-
too violent. It has been pulled
It's
from
racist.
multiple places as being racist.
And he talked about lynching somebody, or
That's what they're saying he's talking about. I don't know what part that
did he
is.
say he's lynching somebody or not?
No.
Oh,
No.
so they're lying. Okay, perfect. I know, like Lane Bryant pulled all his music off of CMT. Now it's a waterfall. People are
Well,
pulling their
so I
shit
did
from CMT.
I did bring a couple wrong one. Hold on. A couple notable names. Hank Williams Jr. is
Of
now
course.
boycotting
Ooh.
CMT.
They're all gonna do it.
They're all gonna
he-
do it now.
Yeah.
We're
well,
gonna
he
we're
said,
gonna we're gonna fucking know where the line is.
I'll
and
be
who's on what
interested to
side.
see if Tyler Childers does it.
he
'Cause
said,
he's
I'm
kind of-
stepping down from my position effective immediately. I support free speech and my good friend Jason Aldean. There's no way I can, in good conscience, continue offering CMT my services. So there was that. And then Blake Shelton pulled out of a $30 million project with CMT and said, Jason is
felt
my
that.
friend. He deserves better than the disrespect shown to him by CMT. So when Hank Williams Jr. backed out, CMT was like, we love Hank. We thank him for all his whatever. But when Blake Shelton pulled out, CMT actually gave a response for the first time and said, the network didn't mean to upset anyone with the move.
Go fuck yourself, CMT.
Too late.
We
Too
wanted to
late.
make everyone comfortable, so we removed it.
Well,
can't
go fuck
find
yourself.
You forgot your
exactly
target
how that
demographic.
makes everyone comfortable since it's the #1 song on iTunes, but he's welcome to his opinion and the viewing public is welcome to theirs.
Well, and here's the deal. Let's face it. CMT is about to be bought by a private equity firm, and they're going to go away anyways, like the rest of cable TV. So it's not like they've got this longevity of a career ahead of them, all this money. This is dying.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that statement, but
I think ABC is going to be bought by a private equity firm here really shortly. Disney's going to sell them off, and they're just going to go.
Bob Iger is like, he's telling people, he's like, hey, we're for sale. Like, if you want our stuff, it's all yours.
They've only got a few more audience members, and their target audience is like 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah.
So once they die, once our parents die, that's it. They don't have a business model anymore.
Right.
Lone Wolf says he's pro gun control. Let the left destroy him. I know. I saw Jason Isbell tweeted, I dare you to write your own music. That's what we do in our small town. So I don't know.
Miranda Lambert went off on him too.
Writes.
Joey says we all know Eric had to do his hair. That's why you're late.
Yeah.
Tex says Marka. Also says hi, Chris and Eric.
He always has
Joey
side
said,
out individually. I appreciate that.
Joey said it's catchy as fuck.
Yeah, I like the song actually. Then you stopped
Tex
it.
once again said Heather looks beautiful as always. Gosh, guys, just making me feel good. Joey said Sheryl Crow tried to throw shade at Jason Aldean. She's only relevant because she did a song about banging Kid Rock in a hotel.
Which one was that? Was
Living
that her
my
massive?
life in a slow hell. Different girl every night.
Oh, they did that song together.
Picture.
That's right.
Yeah.
I better away.
Aldean is
God,
pro gun
you
control.
Is
he really? Tell me about that. I didn't know that.
I think he just supports like red flag laws, especially after everything that came out in Nashville. He's been pretty.
You know that,
gun control.
and he was. I wonder if he is like, I should have never even been to those motherfuckers. Because I don't know that that's Jason Aldean's fucking opinion. That might be his record label and CMT. You know, they probably get some emails here and there like,
Sure.
hey, you need to come out. All
Come
the
out and
Nashville
say
guys.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, my bank account, blah, blah,
That's
whatever.
kind of like,
I don't know. I don't know if that's real or not. I'm
but
just
I mean,
talking.
that would be like Bud Light having an advertising exec come out and say, we're trying to rebrand and get away from our frat boy, personality. Like, it's the same concept, and then they do it and they fall apart. So I guess if there's ESG money flowing into CMT, I could totally see
100%
that.
there is.
If
If somebody's not funding CMT, that's not a profitable network.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want frat boys to be your number one customer base? Nobody pounds beers like those guys.
Oh my God. So when I took Ainsley to that camp at UK, it was in the middle of the day. It's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're on campus. And these boys have this massive
after it.
plank of wood out on the yard, and they're like beer ponging it up in the middle of the day. It's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, yeah, Bud Light's really missing you right now.
Yeah.
I will say, I've walked through the store, and I just always, like, casually when I go past the liquor section, I always look just to be like, how are they doing? And the shelves are always full. Like, they're not selling.
Who does
their beer.
CMT think their target audience is? And
Right.
how many liberals listen to CMT?
Hmm.
Honestly, like how many just go up there and grab the remote and be like, CMT's on.
Yeah, I mean, if I was the executive there and somebody walked in the office and said, hey, we got a music video about how people are burning flags and burning buildings and punching cops and how that's bad and small town values, I'd be like, fucking perfect. People are going to love that shit. Get it on right now. Run that shit on a loop.
I want to go look real fast about lynching. I want to see if that's anywhere on these lyrics. No.
Well, he's
it's
from
not.
Macon, Georgia, and so somebody probably got lynched between 1776 and today in Macon, Georgia, and somebody probably was like, "Oh, he's talking about lynching." I don't know.
Don't let any of this distract you from the fact that we never uncovered a motive for the Las Vegas shooting.
There's a line in the song that says, got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. So I think that's just,
I think he's
my
talking about,
daddy told me that too. He's like, you need a gun to protect yourself.
I think he's talking about droves of people coming to his town to burn shit, which
has anybody ever listened to country music like in the 70s and 60s, 50s?
Are you kidding me? Hank Williams and Johnny Cash? Like, come on.
David Allan Coe.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the highwaymen.
Absolutely.
They were outlaws. What are we doing? He never
I
said
think it's
lynching.
stupid.
He
Like,
said,
this
motherfucker,
whole, like,
if you're going to come here and fucking around in my goddamn neighborhood, I'm going to shoot you in the face. That's what he said.
Well, it's like, let the free market decide. Let him put, like, that's what music is. Let him put his song out. If you want to take the time to listen to the song, guess what happens? If it comes on CMT and I'm offended, guess what I'm going to do?
Turn the channel.
Turn the channel.
You're a grown up.
I am not scared of Jason Aldean singing a song or having we want to talk about violence in a music video? Bro, that's just the news. So
yeah, that was just news clips.
And can we go back to Snoop Dogg blowing the brains out of a president in effigy? Can we do that for a second? Because that happened.
You could pull up any rap song, any of them.
Yeah. So like, and now we need a network to protect us from what? Going on YouTube and seeing violence? I just don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Okay, Joey said frat boy beer is Natty Light. Wow. Now ask me how I know. No, it's Pabst Blue Ribbon. Like, it's
Natty Light where I grew up.
We had $2 beer night at Hammerheads in Evansville.
Yeah, 50 cent. Natty Light 50-cent beers.
I just Googled number one rap album right now, and it says Nas Magic 2. If Nas is actually the number one rap album right now, then there's hope. Ice Spice #2, who I just found out is an artist. I thought she was just a chick on TikTok who showed her privates.
What is
Turns
Nas?
out she's a
Nas?
musician.
Like NAS, Nas, the Nas, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
The New York rapper from the 90s.
So
Somehow
I have
possibly #1.
I've
I
never heard
have
him.
to tell
Maybe
you
I have.
guys really fast. Tonight, on the way home, so Ainsley and I are reading a book together. This is completely off subject, but I'm telling you guys because it's cool. So there's a book that Ainsley and I are reading together called 101 Artists You Should Listen to Before You Die. And so
Ooh,
there's a
you're a good
blurb about
mom.
the artist and why the author chose that artist. So when she finds the artist and she reads the thing, then I go pull up the artist on Spotify and then we listen to maybe 1 or 2 songs and then pick which one we want to go on our playlist. So she gets to, so tonight she learned about, are you guys ready for this? All in one night. She got to listen to Beastie Boys, Nirvana, Lagwagon, the Notorious B.I.G., Cypress Hill, Criss Cross, Rage Against the Machine, Smashing Pumpkins,
Jump.
Weezer, and the Mummies, all on the way home tonight.
She experienced the music that shaped us.
Yes. And so I'm like,
Those
and
albums and Dazed and Confused created who I am today, and kids.
so so Beastie Boys comes up and she was like, I said, okay, baby. I was like, you got to give me a moment to be not a mom for a second because I'm going to sing this song in a way that just takes me back just for a moment. I was like, just disregard. And so I played Brass Monkey in the car and she was like, Mama, she goes, I heard some boys singing this song. It's like, because they must have cool parents. That's why you heard this song. Okay, back on track. I apologize. Seriously, this is like when the Dixie Chicks mouthed off and couldn't read the
Yeah.
room. Yeah, I mean, the Dixie Chicks changed their name. They're just the Chicks now. They're not even the Dixie Chicks because Dixie was too offensive. Of course, I don't support canceling people, but at least read the damn room and don't bite the hand that feeds you, for sure. Yes, I had my first kiss to 1979. That's awesome.
That was my first concert, Smashing Pumpkins.
Capitalism is cancel culture. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's the free market. It's if I don't like your song, it's not going to survive. It's not going to go viral on TikTok. It's not going to be played millions of times on YouTube. Like it's just not going to exist. It'll disappear into
That's how
the
art
ether.
works.
Right.
So CMT tries to cancel that song, but you can't cancel it anymore. Like we're
Right.
past that.
Yeah, it's out there.
So
Well,
2
now
years
they've
ago.
like
Canceling something gives it fuel.
amplified it. It's very similar to the Bud Light situation. You have people buying Coors Light and Miller Light that would have never bought those beers had this not taken place. So now you have people listening to Jason Aldean's song that would have never listened to it if
I
you'd
played it
have
on
just listened to him.
Spotify. I would have never listened to that song.
Yep.
So he got at least one spin out of me.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have listened. I mean, maybe if it had been on the radio or something, but I wouldn't have sought out the song so that we could listen to it on the show tonight.
So
if it ain't Tyler Childers or the damn Turnpike Troubadours, I don't want nothing to do with it.
So are they playing it on local radios across the nation, or
That's a really
was
good
that
question,
a totally
Chris.
pulled?
I
Does
don't know the
CMT
answer.
If CMT pulls it, that's it, right? That's the standard. So the radio stations pull it.
I mean, that would be my guess. I don't know.
But Apple didn't pull it.
No, and neither did YouTube. YouTube still has the video up and running. That's how I was able to pull it for the show.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this was just a straight up.
A
They got
network
a
decision.
CMT got a phone call from their parent company that said, "Listen, we go bankrupt, and we don't get any subsidization if you play this shit. So you got to stop it."
It is not listed in the top songs being played on FM 106 right now, Milwaukee's country station.
Wow.
Number 1 is Fast Car by Luke Combs.
Because CMT's would be the standard across, so everybody's pulled it from a public like radio.
Wow.
Joey, to your question about how many plays does it have on YouTube, it is 15 million. on the official music video, and it was released 9 days ago.
Damn, dude, we need to make a music video.
We need to make a music video and then put out a notice
show
that
my
it was
boobs.
canceled. Oh my God, did you see Patriots and Petticoats? It totally got canceled.
Eric whipped his boobs out.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Subject number 2 that I had in our Discord is
What else?
I want to talk about I don't want to like beat a dead horse. But in the congressional hearings this week, the stuff that came out with regards to the Biden situation is pretty fucking gross.
Think about how much money they have. What have they ever produced like a good or service? All of their money has come from selling influence.
Yes.
Or drugs, probably.
If you're at least one of those members of that family.
Probably in the red on the drugs. He's definitely spent more than he's made.
Sure. Oh my God, did you see the video of his or the pictures of his
lawyer
attorney
ripping bong hits?
hitting the bong?
Perfect. Out on the porch. Fuck it.
Oh my God, I thought that was great. Okay, I'm going to add this to the stream real fast. So on June 29th of 2020, so remember, when was the election? November of 2020. June 29th, a confidential human source provided the following supplemental reporting to the FBI, reporting that Zlochevsky said he has many text messages and recordings that show he was coerced to make such payments being the two $5 million payments to the Bidens.
The big guy.
Correct. The confidential human source clarified Zlochevsky said he had a total of 17 recordings involving the Bidens. 2 of the recordings included Joe Biden, and the remaining 15 recordings only included Hunter Biden. The confidential human source reiterated that per Zlochevsky, these recordings evidence Zlochevsky was somehow coerced into paying the Bidens to ensure the Ukraine Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin was fired. Zlochevsky stated that he has 2 documents, which the confidential human source understood to be wire transfer statements and bank records, that evidence some payments to the Bidens were made, presumably in exchange for Shokin's firing. Regarding aforementioned Alexander Ostapenko, who originally introduced the confidential human source into this matter, Ostapenko currently works in some office for the administration of Zelensky, also works for Valery Pavlovov, who is the founder and CEO of the cryptocurrency and blockchain technology business Bitfury. The synopsis at the bottom says, summary of CHS's meetings with executives of Burisma Holdings. So here's what's interesting about this. We have Joe Biden on record. We have him on camera at an event stating, and I told him if they didn't fire him, that they weren't getting the money from the United States. What motivation did the United States have in Shokin being fired in the first place? They didn't.
Is this the guy that Trump asked to look into it?
No, Trump asked Zelensky to look into the whole ordeal of Shokin being fired. And was impeached for that, by the way.
Yeah.
But let's backtrack real fast. So Biden says, all right, you give me $10 million. I will make sure I'll withhold funding from the U.S. to make sure Shokin is fired so he'll no longer look into Burisma. But you give me $10 million first. Yeah. And so then withholds the U.S. funding until Shokin is fired. We have him on video saying this. Now, the problem that I have with all of this is that nothing is being done about it. And you had bills being introduced by like Rand Paul and all these people, and they're like, oh, we want to hold these people accountable. And it's like, why are you even introducing any of this legislation the laws were already violated. Why are you not removing funding? That's the only way that any of this gets fixed. Dear FBI, you have been negligent in your duty. You have committed
They've been
countless
busy
crimes.
taking over the country.
Right. You need to be reined in. The only thing you are allowed to deal with from this point moving forward is human trafficking. That's it.
Can we rein in the intelligence community, or do they have such a stronghold at this point that we can't shake them?
Well, I mean, you have
I saw another email about an effort of Burisma to do business in Mexico and get Zlochevsky into America via the Mexican border. A billionaire, Miguel Ailman Magnani, asked Hunter to have his dad call somebody else's dad and let's get this guy across the border. Essentially, it's all quite shady. And the FBI is like, we don't need to look into that. We were gonna, but we were told not to.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing. A lot of people, like, the pushback that's come from all of these revelations, the pushback has been, yeah, and they didn't even look into it because it was not credible. Why didn't they look into it? Because it doesn't exist. It's not real. Like, that's the pushback that's coming. And it's like, how neither one of us can know because the FBI didn't do their fucking job.
Yeah.
Like, the laptop, they sat on it for years. Didn't even fucking open it to find
Didn't
out what was
acknowledge
on
it exists for a while.
Yeah. And now we know, like, it was directly coordinated by the FBI. They knew it was real. They knew, but they intentionally subverted the American people to impact an election. I mean, like, if I were an independent voter that saw that even there was a hint or a whisper that and okay, so I also want to be fair here. You guys know I try really hard to be even keeled when I am presenting like a position or an opinion. I try to be fair to both sides. The idea that every single president and vice president that has ever served hasn't used their power and authority of office to try to influence either other countries or something like that, I would be an idiot if I thought that that was true.
Yeah.
But they were sloppy. And there is a direct money trail of bank accounts and text messages and emails that clearly illustrates it.
Yeah. He's the John Gotti. He's the guy walking around in the flashy suits, just rubbing it in our face, how crooked and filthy rich he is. And the other people who've been doing it in the shadows this whole time are probably like, dude, you need to keep a lower profile. Like, people see what you're doing. This doesn't work if people know we're doing it.
Well, and it takes me back to that quote of Barack Obama's when Biden first announced that he was running for president. And I can't remember exactly how the quote goes, but he was like, never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to fuck something up.
Yeah.
I think like that was a very foretelling in my opinion. Like, he's like, yeah, I may have not done everything above board either, but I was able to like do it effectively enough that you don't see it right in fucking writing in front of your own eyes.
Yeah. It feels like he's asking us, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. And so there brings me to the next point. You kind of alluded to it when you said, can we rein in those agencies? And, you know, I go back and forth on this. Like, I mean, shy of just creating total and complete stalwarts within your local communities, a sheriff that is unwilling to even have a conversation with a federal agency, I don't know what we can do at this point because Congress has no vested interest in doing their job.
No.
They are a lost cause at this point. The Supreme Court possibly hearing a case where you have the FBI in large numbers committing the same crimes that people are going to jail for, the kidnapping of Gretchen Whitmer, the January
Hey,
6th situation.
you can't throw a fucking rock into a Proud Boys or any of those fucking places and not hit a fucking FBI.
Those
Yeah.
things
At
are
least,
90%.
yeah.
They're 90% feds and 10% idiots who don't know they're with 90% feds.
And so
Yeah, they're all like the Spider-Man meme. FBI. yeah. It's fucked up.
So I like when you pose that question, can we rein them in? I don't know. I don't know that we can. I don't know that that's even remotely possible at this point.
Can we rein who in?
The
The federal
intelligence community.
agencies, like the intelligence agencies.
No, we got to cut it and we got to start over.
So, but what's that process look like?
Well, I can't explain it as well as Vivek did on the last podcast I listened to. It was about a 2-hour podcast just on how he's going to clear it 75% of the government in the first day, and he'll already have it in the works. But he explains it really well.
And he said it's Vivek like cake.
I did hear
So-
that. I saw that on one of his interviews.
I won't say Vivek anymore.
You can't shut the whole intelligence community down, but not right up front. But you can cut the FBI. We don't need the FBI. We have U.S. Marshals. We're fine.
Joey says, I don't see a need for federal law enforcement. Mutual
No.
aid agreements between states could serve the exact same purpose. Information sharing. We're in I think this is another thing that's really interesting. So back when the FBI was established, it was to create a centralized information sharing process for cross-state violations of law, right? And so now, if Ohio sees a human trafficking situation that they want to make Indiana aware of, they don't need the FBI. They can just pick up the fucking phone or shoot an email and say, hey, here's the things that we've got going on. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. On to the next subject that I had in our Discord. So did you guys see this thing about the mystery company that bought $800 million worth of land near Travis Air Force Base?
That's a lot of land.
Well, here's what's interesting. So the Air Force is currently investigating a company that purchased the land, which in the US is one of the most critical military bases that we have. And it says, I have every reason in the world to believe that this land is adjacent to a critical national security platform, therefore, an area where spy operations or other nefarious activity could take place that could detrimentally impact the ability of Travis Air Force Base to operate in a moment of national emergency.
Mm-hmm.
So, public records showed the company Flannery Associates LLC began purchasing land around the base in 2018. Investigators say that those acquisitions ramped up in 2023. Now, literally, 3 sides of that base are totally controlled by the Flannery Group, yet no one, including local, state, and federal officials, can seem to track down who is behind the Flannery Group. Now,
Oh,
I
it's
find this
Mr.
fascinating.
Flannery.
After 8 months of investigation, the authorities are still unable to provide those answers.
Just thought we had it, but wasn't quite it. Nothing definitive as of yet, but we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
They have to sell this one and start this one, and you know.
So
Like they're actively changing. They're moving it all the time while you're
Right.
investigating, and they're 3-4 companies behind. They're never good. They're never, it's like in The Departed, with everybody looking up their asses and you looking for yourself. My money's on nobody finds nothing.
Right. I mean, it's remarkable to me to watch how fast the government can move in situations where they want to, and how
It's time
inept.
to Ruby Ridge your ass. Yeah.
Yeah, like, how about you don't sell the fucking land if you can't identify? I like.
How is there not a
from a
list of
tax
protocols
perspective.
for selling land within 50 miles of an Air Force base? You have to have a background check. You have to be legit. We should know every fucking thing about somebody who
Yeah.
owns land next to an Air
We-
Force base.
We have a pretty big DOD.
I should know
We
if
should
they
probably
like
figure that
toasted
out.
bagels in the morning.
Like, don't pay your taxes and see how long it takes the government to find you. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can buy $800 million worth of land next to an Air Force base, and we've been doing it since 2018. We still don't know who the fuck you are. Come on.
I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel secure. God, the damage to national security that's been done. It's breakneck speed.
Well, and so the question that I like, maybe, okay, maybe this is a government institution that's buying this land and they just don't want to admit it. Maybe it's
Maybe.
not nefarious.
Nah, I
But
think it is.
perhaps a little bit of transparency would go a long way. We're working on a project, we needed the land. Okay.
Yeah.
Journalists will stop asking questions.
No. Not- no.
Well, certain ones will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Daddy Gov needs the land. Okay, Daddy, you can
Yeah.
have the land.
Exactly.
We won't ask questions about why you need that much land
No.
or why you spent $800 million of American taxpayer money to do it. Okay. Next up. Oh, y'all, this one took me for a moment. Good old Granholm, Jennifer Granholm, who is the energy secretary. She's like the bane of my existence.
That's the
I don't
dude,
know
right?
if it's, do what?
That's the dude.
The girl, Jennifer
The former
Granholm.
dude.
Girl.
Okay.
This is the woman. She looks she just looks like a Karen. She's got blonde hair, short glasses. She's the one that's constantly telling people they're going to have to get rid of their stoves and things like that. She has come out and said that after seeking to reduce the use of gas stoves, the Biden administration is pushing a proposal to ban the sale of nearly all portable gas generators, which some experts have said would be disastrous for the millions of Americans who rely on these generators during power outages. And
rolling blackouts, they're becoming in fashion. They're starting to tell us why rolling blackouts are good.
yeah.
Like, that's not a third world country, yet another third world country symptom that we have. Have you seen China's infrastructure right now? They're crushing it. They are leading the world in innovation and technology and industry. Like, we're not, that's what we were when I was in school doing the Pledge of Allegiance, learning how great America is. We were the best at all that shit.
Right.
And now they got like fucking trains running on magnets, robots building highways. It's wild.
Joey said,
No,
totally
no.
not a Chinese shell company. No way. No, sir. Chris, Patriot Sports Radio. I don't know who's on that account right now, but it says
That's
hit
me.
the like. Okay. Hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Absolutely. I don't say this enough when we do a live stream, but if you are enjoying the show, the thing that helps us the most is to comment, like, share, do all of those things. It coming from us is just plugging, but it coming from you lets people know that the content is enjoyable. So if you do like us and you are a regular, please like and share and subscribe and do all of that. Tex says Granholm is the former governor of Michigan. She doesn't care about America and only loves the payoffs. So I'm going to go back to this really quick. So this is the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission that has proposed this policy, and they would remove nearly all existing portable gas generators from the market. The new rule restricts the amount of carbon monoxide that generators can emit by forcing these generators to turn off when they reach a certain level of emissions. Smaller gas generators would have to cut carbon monoxide emissions by 50%. Larger generators would have to cut by up to 95%. Nearly all models currently available will not be in compliance with the new standard. And once
Again,
this proposed, go ahead.
Again, I ask, how many of these generators would it take? Would you have to shut down to equal one flight, one private jet flight?
That's a great question that I don't know.
Maybe all. Like, you're not. This is all penny wise, dollar foolish bullshit.
Yeah.
It's an attack on the working class and now preppers. I think this is a direct shot at preppers.
It's not even just the working class or preppers. Like, I think that it would be Tex. We need a lot more followers and a lot more watch hours for super chats. I really wish that it was available from the beginning. You know, maybe you don't want to put advertisers on here, but it would be nice for our listeners to have the ability to support us. Not yet. Best way you can support us is just sharing it out for right now. Yep. But I love you. Thank you for saying you would give us super chats. And then also, Joey said China isn't what you think it is. There's a number of empty high rises in Shanghai, for example.
Window dressing.
If Heather bought $800 million of land around Fort Knox, the government would be at her house. If Heather bought $800 million of land, if Heather bought any amount of land anywhere near any Air Force base, the government would be at my house at this point. Like, the government hates me.
I hope we see a video on social media of somebody, a citizen, trying to buy land near an Air Force base and what they go through.
Ooh, that
because
would be
I
interesting.
bet it's a different process.
We should, you know what? I will endeavor between now and next week's show to get in touch with a couple of my real estate friends and see if you are the actual licensing agent, what does that process look like next to a military installation, and see if there's special rules. I know, like with insurance, you know, when I took my licensing test, I had to answer a shit ton of questions that I never actually encounter in my day-to-day life. It would be interesting to know if there are extra things built in place for them, you know, in that process. So I'll do that between now and next week, and I will let you guys know. It says once the proposed rule comes into effect, manufacturers would have to comply with them in just 6 months. So you're going to have to change your entire production line of creating a generator, the product design, the engineering, all of that.
And the foreign companies who influence this already have a lead on that. They're already making the compliant ones right now.
Sure. And the congressional members that are going to push this through, or the executive members, already know who those companies are and have invested in them, so that when they go live with their products, because that's the country that we actually live in. It said the rules would also ban manufacturers from stockpiling non-compliant generators before the new standards are enacted.
Because after we go Mad Max, they don't want you having that.
Right, yeah.
They don't want them to exist.
Right. Well, and so here's the thing, and I don't know if it's just willful ignorance or it's a bit more nefarious than that. But the idea that just keeps getting pushed is like, oh, electric. Like, do they think that the average American citizen doesn't understand how that electricity is generated?
I think they don't. I think they might actually not.
Or do they just not know themselves? Are they so fucking stupid that they think, oh, if you have an electric car and you go use your electric plug-in to charge it, that electricity comes out of thin air. It's just
That's magic juice. We get it from lightning. We harvest lightning.
You're muted, Chris.
I think when you buy an electric car, you do get a good set of slippers. And so when you walk on your carpet, I'm pretty sure
you just touch your car when you go outside and it
that's how you start it.
Well, that's it. You said out of thin air. I mean,
static electricity.
If we really get after the carpet, we can charge that some bitch probably by 2028.
Yep.
Then we will
for a whole mile.
We'll go the quick trip and get a glazer.
The net on electric cars, I can't believe it's that many people are buying into it.
I want to go back really quick to what you said though, Eric, when you
It was probably
said
smart.
preppers, that this was like kind of targeted against preppers. Think about Florida. Think about how many people during a hurricane
Yeah.
lose electricity and use generators to generate electricity for their homes.
Are we going to go around and arrest them as they're standing next to the
Every
wreckage that used to
commercial
be their
building.
life?
Yeah,
Every commercial building.
all of them.
All of them are hooked up to natural gas.
So imagine what that's going to do when you create one that, so those commercial ones that you're talking about, Chris, they're saying that
Every
they have to
building.
cut back their production by 95% is what they have to cut back their production.
That's the
So,
death of
and
your
if
business.
you surpass it, it automatically turns it off. There's a governor on it. So if you've emitted too much carbon, then your generator doesn't work anymore. It's
Let me
like,
tell you
what
something
the
about
fuck is happening right
about
now?
a governor on anything as of right now. Right now, you still have to come out and put a governor on. And if a human could put a governor on, another human come and wire around that motherfucker. And that's just the truth. They
Yeah,
haven't until they figure out how to make it to where I can't wire around it. You don't have a governor on it. You just
right.
have a better night's sleep, maybe.
Yeah.
But that motherfucker's gonna turn on when I tell it to turn on.
But imagine the misery in that scenario. Let's
It's
just go to like
ridiculous.
a national emergency, like
Yeah.
a bad hurricane.
You're
And
standing
all of the
next to a
generators
pile
stop
of
working at
wreckage.
once. Food, medical, like think about
Mhm.
hospitals.
Insulin
All of
going bad.
Yep, all of it. That's fucking insane. Like even that this is being, and so it's really funny because again, I want to go back to this. This is like tyrannical rule. This is not Congress talking about passing a law about this. This is Jennifer Granholm, the energy fucking Nazi, that's putting a
Mhm.
rule out. And what? We can go type in and say, please don't pass this rule. And then they do it anyway. Like it's ruled by power of the pen, and it's just getting out of control at this point. I know I'm
They're
incredibly impassioned
drunk
about
with
this,
it.
and maybe I'm a little bit too impassioned about it, but
Well,
it pisses me
this is
off.
all leading towards us being euthanized at about 60 years old because there's no resources for us, and the state says we are not allowed to breathe anymore.
Right. Well, it's working so well for Canada, Eric. Maybe
Mhm.
if we just let you to volunteer to kill yourselves because your life is so miserable. We've made it so miserable for you. You're
Exactly.
just voluntarily killing yourself
Dude,
for
those
it.
Canadian suicide commercials are creepy as shit.
I have not seen one, and it's probably a good thing at this point.
It's pitching death as a vacation. If you watch with the sound off, you'd think you were watching a vacation or a cruise advertisement.
Oh man.
Ooh,
Text says the average American
unsettling.
doesn't under. Oh, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
It's unsettling.
Yes. The average American doesn't understand that the open border south of Texas is letting in more people and more power plants aren't being built for climate change. Texas needs another nuclear power plant because we have our own grid, but we can't add coal power plant because of air pollution. But bring in more people across the Rio Grande. Make all cars and trucks go electric, but without increasing electricity.
Yeah, it's like Greta Thunberg drew this whole thing up. Like you've had a child
I had a
plan.
19-year-old, yeah, or I think she's like 21 now, but
I guess.
okay. So the next thing, and this is just kind of in the same vein of like
How
tyrannical
fucked we
rule.
are.
There are liberal law professors who are encouraging Joe Biden to defy the Supreme Courts and the public. I shall resist any illegal federal court order. When the court's interpretation of the Constitution is egregiously wrong, the president should refuse to allow
Oh,
it.
now they want to tell us about the Constitution?
Those are two statements that were made 60 years apart. The first is from George Wallace. The second was made by two professors this month. And it says, in a recent open letter, Harvard, shocker that it came from there, law professor
Mhm.
Mark Tushnet and San Francisco University political scientist Aaron Belkin
No
called upon
shocker.
Joe Biden to defy rulings of the Supreme Court that he considers mistaken in the name of popular constitutionalism.
Again,
Thus,
they
in
know
light of the
better.
court's bar on the use of race in college admissions, they argue that Biden should just continue to follow his own constitutional interpretation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it is. It's choose your own adventure.
These are law professors that are encouraging. This isn't just like some administrative fucking head of whatever. These are actual law professors that are teaching the next generation of lawyers.
Yep.
So, what happens when you corrupt the legal system so absolutely that, I mean, right now, if we look at the Constitution, and if I don't know if either one of you read my 4th of July thing where I like line by line went and clearly illustrated how all of our constitutional rights are being violated. But the document still exists and is still a frame of reference for the courts. That's what the checks and balances are for the 3 branches of government.
This all started when Scalia died. He was the let's see what does it say on the back of the box guy.
Right. Yeah. And thank God for Clarence Thomas, because I think he's the only one that's still like that. Right? Like, I think he's the only one who's still saying, I don't know if this is fitting.
What do the
Let's go back and
instructions
look."
say? Let's actually look at the instructions. Okay,
Yeah.
it says this.
I got into a discussion with my aunt about this tonight, and she was talking about the rights that the Constitution grants to you. And I was like, that's not what the Constitution is. My rights are given to me the day I'm
My
born.
God!
Those are my rights. That Constitution is a frame of reference for government officials to look at and say, is this decision we're making in alignment with the rights that we're forced to uphold for these people? That's what that is. It's like a textbook where you just go back and you say, what does the book say? Joey said it's the Protestant Reformation, but for the Constitution. That's a very accurate analogy. I think this is not a new idea. If the Supreme Court can tell the executive what to do, then the branches are not equal. The judicial would be superior. Well, that's what the check and balance is. It's that the court can say the legislature's job is to legislate, to write the law. The executive branch is to enforce the law. It is not to make law. It doesn't have that power. That doesn't exist. Then the judicial branch reviews what is being enforced and says, this is not constitutional. So, for example, and I'm just throwing this out there. If Congress says you have the right to free speech, it's in our Bill of Rights, right? That's where it stands right now. You have the Second Amendment.
Yes.
Love it.
Executive branch.
Thanks, G-Dub.
Cannot infringe upon that right.
Don't you dare.
And yet, the executive branch created the ATF and created rules that infringe upon your rights as a citizen. The judicial branch then says, okay, I'm going to look at the case presented ahead of me. Here's the law. Here's what's being enforced. Is this constitutional or contradictory to the Constitution? That's the check and balance.
Well, that's really simple.
The judicial branch doesn't do anything. They're not telling anyone that they're saying that they don't
They're the referee.
Yeah, their check is
the Constitution.
Do what?
They have the Constitution. They're just going by the Constitution.
Right.
They're not making this shit up as they go.
Joey said
they're not like
referee.
They're not making shit up. Now there has been some instances, Heather, Roe v. Wade. That's some made up bullshit out of thin air.
Yeah. And so the check to that is for Congress to come in and say, because Congress right now could make a law that abortion is legal. They could write that. Abortion is now federally
But
legal.
how do you get their, how in the fuck would their base ever came out if they did that? Their base would never come back out.
No, I agree with you. But when she's asking what's the check and balance, it's
Okay.
Congress. The legislature can then come back and say abortion is legal. We don't agree with the court's decision to put it back on states' rights.
But they can make it a
this
law.
should be federally legal. And it works its way around. The point is gridlock. They're supposed to fight with one another. They're supposed to.
You should be standing in molasses in the winter.
Yes. Joey said the judicial branch was designed as a referee. In fact, very little ink was spilled by the founders on the judiciary because they thought it would be the most innocuous branch.
Mm-hmm.
Sola Constitution would be sola scriptura. The great leftists on the court were Catholics. That's Fox, by the way. Lexi said the Supreme Court makes shit up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When you say makes shit up, they don't make up law. They don't write laws. They rule whether or not what is being forced is or is not constitutional. Is it in alignment with the Constitution?
You can choose to interpret the Constitution in multiple ways.
Basically, it's like this. If some fucking dipshit state starts doing some crazy ass shit and nobody takes it to the Supreme Court, they just get to do that crazy ass shit.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to stand up and get it there. Once it gets there, then they have an opinion. And it's the Constitution. I mean, that's what they're going off of. Should be. Right? Is that right, Heather?
Yes. And like Fox can come in if he wants to. Just shoot me a DM if you want to come in here and have this discussion.
Come on, Fox.
But hang on, let me go look at my my Twitter. I don't have it pulled up right now. Let me send him a link real fast. I'm sorry. Invite, copy.
Carry the one.
I know, it's like do. Paste. I don't know if he'll come in or not, but he can. Okay. So Lexi, I'm not trying to be combative against what you're saying.
No, she is.
But the Supreme Court interprets law, but they don't make shit up. They don't make law. The executive branch, on the other hand, when they pass rules that are to be enforced, those are not laws, but they treat them as such. Like the pistol brace rule or this fucking generator rule. Those are rules that are being treated as laws. They're not laws. They were never passed by the state legislatures. So that's why you see with like the energy department, the Department of Energy has been in the Supreme Court so much lately because of shit like this. They're over egregious breach on those particular situations. So I hope that I'm conveying that the right way. Joey said he's got to get out of the fursuit. For our audience that doesn't know, Fox is not, but we joke and say that he is a furry. So that's where the inside joke is coming from there. Okay. I want to go real quick to make sure that I'm not missing anybody on Rumble because I do that all the time. Okay.
So in this over there.
Okay. Jake said, I kind of disagree, Heather. Activist judges make shit up.
In their interpretations, I think he means.
Do what?
I think he means in their interpretations.
Yeah, I think
get a little creative there.
I think that if you're to argue that in a dissent opinion, here he is. I love this.
What's happening?
I love that. So in this in their interpretation of case law that has been decided in the past, they can use different case law to support their position, but it's not them making shit up. It's them trying to utilize different things to interpret the law in the way that they want it to. You can't make up case law like it's there.
Well, you can't
Go
make
ahead,
up
Fox.
case law, but they can make up concepts that have never been introduced before, and then extend really bad case law past its due date. I mean, in theory, it's supposed to be looking at the Constitution and maybe looking at past cases that interpreted specific passages in a certain way for consistency purpose, and they call that stare decisis, let the decision stand. You're not necessarily reinventing the wheel every case, but that can lead to very awful decisions down the road. Roe's kind of one of those cases, and I'm failing to think of any other examples at the moment. Well, a lot of the initial cases that interpreted the 14th Amendment were terrible. We have the Buck v. Bell, which is a eugenics case. It's still essentially good precedent where the state can forcefully sterilize people. Then you have
fun.
Then you have all the New Deal era cases. That wasn't making stuff up, but what it was doing was just saying this act is constitutional, even though everybody with common sense knew it wasn't, and that the court decision was a political decision.
And am I correct in like my interpretation that the check and balance on the judiciary is the legislature? They can make a law that says this abortion is legal federally.
On abortion, they can, because so far the court's not found any specific right to life, and it's something that I objected to the decision on overturning Roe. Was I thought it was an incredibly stupid punt. Whereas they just said it was a state issue, and my argument is that if a state can decide that it's permissible to just kill a person without due process and kill an innocent life whenever somebody fancies, then the state's illegitimate. I don't read the Constitution and see that each state can have its different take on when you have a right to live. I think that's bullshit. That the court should not have punted that issue.
How would you have expected them to rule differently? Like, what would you have expected them to say based in the law itself?
I mean, I don't think I would have expected a non-political take, but the way I would have handled it is I would have said, my position would have been that Roe versus Wade would have been thrown out after it was revealed the affidavits were essentially fake and forced. And I would have made it non-precedential. I would have kept the concept of, well, that would be in a technicality, and I wouldn't reach any other conclusions of law. But if I had to reach conclusions of law, I would have kept the right to privacy, but make an argument that the right to privacy doesn't include the right to terminate an innocent life, especially without due process. And I would have said that, under it's such an abstract natural right to life that you can't be taken. Your life cannot be taken unless if there's one, a crime alleged, and two, you're given a trial. That the entire basis of this country would be completely fraudulent if that weren't the case. It wouldn't necessarily be a quote unquote constitutional argument, more of a moral, logical one.
So then I posed to you, not that I really expected the show to go in this direction, but I posed the question to you, since you did not think that it was favorable for the court to kick it back to the states, in a state that says you may not, like this whole, I don't know if you saw Ted Lieu's like just miraculously brilliant
Unhinged fucking tweet
um
where he
but the case of Celeste Burgess, who was in her third trimester. She was 28 weeks pregnant. The legal cutoff was 20 weeks, determined by that state.
2 months passed.
Do you think that the state has the right to impose any cutoff date if they're to allow it at all?
This is an area where I think the courts get into a whole lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
Where they, over time, like when Roe was decided, there was very little science. Sonograms, I don't know if they were a thing back then, but it was still an open scientific question. And then over time, there was a lot of litigation in the 90s and early 2000s where they started to come up with these theories that the fetus feels pain, and then it became a viability argument. And then everything turned to, in case law, turned to whether or not the fetus was viable and could be considered life based off of sonograms and science and all the tech that we've developed to determine, when life begins. But that is such a effing arbitrary take where you're just going to say the legal standard is viability. You can abort up until it's viable. And it's getting really weird now with developments in with essentially lab-grown babies, because they're trying. I think China's like the forefront of
farming humans.
A kid can be grown outside of a human, and that's where it gets really weird. But I just object to the entire premise the court's take on that.
Yeah.
And I'm very much alone in that thing.
Yeah,
there's
I figured that you were. In this particular case, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the charges that she was actually charged with had nothing to do with the abortion itself.
No.
It was the charges that she was actually found guilty of was concealing a death and false reporting. And she served 90 days.
Didn't she burn the body and
she did. She burned the body and buried it not once, not twice, but 3 times. She moved the body and reburied it 3 different times after she had already burned it.
Oh, what kind of what? There's
and
the
her
average
mom helped
person
her.
doesn't have it in them to do that.
Her mom helped her. And it was really.
Can you imagine the level of evil it takes for you to do that?
Yeah.
Because, and this is something I've thought for a long time. But people like to say like Mustache Man is the most evil guy on earth for ordering the deaths of people. But to me, the most inhumane evil act would be to kill your own flesh and blood.
Yeah. Joey, I apologize. She pleaded guilty to removing and concealing human skeletal remains, which is a felony. The prosecutors, in lieu of her accepting and pleading guilty to the felony, they agreed to drop the misdemeanor charges of concealing a death and false reporting. So you were right. I apologize.
That's the shit they make horror movies of.
Well, the part that was just really, really fucking hard for me was the part where she was texting her mom and she's like, "We need to burn the evidence."
Nice text.
And then later said, "I can finally wear jeans again." No joke.
But she cried in the photo op. So
Casey
I
Anthony
know.
Energy.
Yeah. So, okay, let me go to these real quick. Legislature can't make unconstitutional law, but they do appoint the judges. They can start a new constitutional amendment. Lexi says Texas executive and legislative both agreed abortion was illegal. A judicial body says they are wrong. If the exec and legislative are forced to concede, the judicial is not co-equal but superior.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to that, Fox?
I mean, the courts really have taken up so much power. Part of that is because the legislature refuses to rein them in. But
Can you talk just a little bit louder, Fox?
oh, sorry. How's this?
It's better.
A big problem is the courts refuse, or the legislatures in states and federal level have really refused to rein courts in, or to intervene with legislation that answers questions, which has forced the courts. I don't want to say force, but the courts have taken advantage of that fact to resolve these issues on their own, and it does increase their power. And then there's the fact that there's literally no consequence to issuing an insane ruling. I mean, the number of judges who've ever been impeached is very few, and it's incredibly rare.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. So I'm getting the next topic ready.
I have a question for you, Fox, before we move on. And I wrote it down.
Shoot it. What is it?
Who started the whole ultra partisan activist judges? Was that Carter? I was trying to think, like, when did that start? Like, where, you know what I'm saying? Am I saying that right?
New Deal era court packing threats was a big part of it, and then it just didn't stop. You had the Earl Warren court was fairly leftist. After him, around the 60s to the 80s, there was a lot of essentially an extension of what happened in the New Deal era, and a court that was really in favor of an expansion of federal power that went along with Civil Rights Act, all the welfare laws, the Endangered Species Act, creation of the EPA. But the idea of an activist court has kind of always been there, especially around after the Civil War with the early 14th Amendment cases, and even before, where it was heavily politicized and the court, did some BS, like Dred Scott is one notable case. So
how do we fix it?
I don't know.
We get Fox up there?
No, I think everything is incentives based. So you need some form of legislature that's more local, where campaign contributions are highly restricted. As per the courts, I think you need to make the terms to less than a decade with no renewals. It's not good for a justice to be up there for decades. They have way too much power, way too much influence.
There was a reason when it first started they didn't see this happening, or what? Like, what?
Well,
there's got to be a reasoning why it's like it is now. Like, at some point there was a good intention.
I think back then it was enough because you're talking about people who would have been nominated by the president, would have been fairly older, 30s to 40s.
Yeah.
And the life expectancy wasn't that long.
No, you're right. Okay, that makes sense.
And the nature of the court in general was very different back then as well. Your district judges, actually traveled.
Right. Your legislative branch actually legislated and not just get their 5-minute TikToks all day.
Yeah.
Or vote on a bill that they've never even seen before.
Just
Yeah.
They don't
Seriously.
work anymore. Their staffers do they don't do anything but try to get elected again.
Right.
That's where it probably need to start the fix is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest fix that I can think for the legislature would just be
The legislature or the judiciary?
the legislature would be passing a law prohibiting campaign donations from any entity or person outside the district they're running.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You cut out the legs of everybody
seems-
and you force localization.
That seems really common sense. Like we could get that done.
Yeah, I like
Well,
that, Fox.
What about term limits, Fox? Do you like that?
If term limits were to be, it'd have to be a fairly long time.
Jake?
I don't like the idea of term limits because what happens is you lose a lot of the people who've been in Congress or in a state legislature for a long time, who know what the internal rules are, who know how government works. And when you lose that experience, what you do is have to rely on consultants, and that gives them more power. I don't know if there's a perfect fix, but restricting a person to like 4 to 6 years, I don't think that does anything good. I mean, in Congress right now, it takes people, 4 years to really come up to speed with how things truly work.
So 10 would be okay. Like just this 50 is bullshit because they're so goddamn stroked by then.
Yeah, like 10 for Congress and 2 terms in the Senate.
Is that fair?
I think that would be fair.
Well, we're just solving the world's problems now.
Yep.
But the lobbyist class has so much money.
I will tell you, Fox, that I love it when you come on because you give that the yang when we all have the yin, and you're like, but did you think about this? No, I didn't actually, and that's a great point.
Joey's really good at that too. Joey's really good at.
Joey's excellent at it.
That balance.
That's why
too.
America works. You got to let everybody talk.
We'll have to let Rudy on here at some point, and he'll.
Yeah,
be
why is Permit not here?
He'll be the far yin to our yin, and then we just won't have a yang. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I was going to talk about Kamala Harris.
Yeah, let's do it. She's awesome. AI.
Lying
She
about.
spelt it live. She spelt it live and she was right. She got it right. A and I. She didn't miss it.
Well, this is about her lying about Florida's slavery curriculum. I don't know if you guys saw
Is that
this.
the don't say gay bill or nope? That's the.
It's very similar.
It's the same messaging. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. So I'm going to play this real fast, and then I'll do 2 truths and a lie, just so you guys can see this real fast.
They want to replace history with lies.
No shit.
Middle school students in Florida to be told that enslaved people benefited from slavery. High schoolers may be taught that victims of violence, of massacres, were also perpetrators. Adults know what slavery really involved. It involved rape. It involved torture. It involved taking a baby from their mother.
You're into that.
It involved
That's your thing.
some of the worst examples of depriving people of humanity in our world. It involves subjecting to people the requirement that they would think of themselves and be thought of as less than human. So in the context of that, how is it that anyone could suggest that in the midst of these atrocities, that there was any benefit to being subjected to this level of dehumanization?
I'll give her this. That's the best speech I've ever seen her give. She sounded like she was talking to adults instead of 6-year-olds.
She can gaslight like a motherfucker.
Yeah,
boy.
I mean, that was like a very good pro-life, anti-abortion speech.
It really was.
Yeah, it was. So real quick, I'm going to show you guys something. I'm not going to like go through the whole thing, but I do want to show you guys real fast. So this, do you guys remember when the stuff came out about?
Oh, this is Don't Say Gay all over again, isn't it?
Yes. So, but you guys remember when people were saying that the Moms for Liberty was banning books, and I went through every single book and like screenshotted and I looked through everything. This guy did the same thing, but with Florida's slavery curriculum, quote unquote.
Perfect.
And so he went through, and I'm just going to show you guys like so starting right here with this bullet point right here, all of this, he went through every single part to contradict what Kamala Harris said.
So have they community noted her yet? Because that'd be phenomenal.
No, they haven't.
Come on, guys, get on that.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Way more people are going to watch that video than read anything.
Yeah.
So he put in here, he said, I've been trying to work out how to best illustrate the sheer scale of Harris's falsehood, and I've come to the conclusion that the only way to achieve it is to list in one place all the relevant parts of the course about which she is complaining. So below, I've copied and pasted every single reference to slavery, slaves, abolitionism, civil rights, and African Americans that is in the document. The full curriculum, along with the curriculum for teaching of the Holocaust, is here. So he even puts the curriculum that she's speaking out against in the article. I mean, essentially, you could refute it. But what I did see on here is this part in bold where it says, instruction includes how slaves developed skills which, in some instances, could be applied for their personal benefit. So it was possible that as a slave, you could have learned a trade that once being set free, you could actually apply that to your benefit in the future. While that may not be a fun way to think about it, to say that that's not true is a falsehood. And I'm not saying like, oh, you should have been a slave so that you could benefit from it. But the point that she is making is taken way out of context from that line. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
One line. How many words were on that, Heather?
Yeah.
There's a lot of words there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No ands or ums.
Context isn't their thing.
Yeah. Okay. 2 truths and a lie. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Wait, I want to hear what Fox has to say about that.
What do you think, Fox?
About Kamala?
How come every time she's talking, she says might? Like she starts her sentence with like, it might or it could. Does that just waive all liability legally or what?
I have no idea, man. I don't
fucking
listen to
irritating.
her. But it is interesting that they're now going into Florida and that they have her showing up.
He actually went to Jacksonville to do this.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
I think
she's
that
an idiot.
hints, well, that hints at what they're going to really focus on for their campaign. It's going to be a shit ton of pandering. In a state like Florida and Georgia, that's really going to put those states at risk. Especially that the GOP doesn't want to pander to their own potential voters.
Right. Okay, I'm going to go here real quick. Joey said, I like 6 and 2. Jake said we can fix the lobbyist class with Jake's like, rope, more rope. We can fix the lobbyist class with rope. Lots of rope in Jake's how we fix things mantra.
Yeah, he's gonna have to hire a consultant to figure out like what type of rope that we need and where to buy it from.
Joey says heels up Harris, knee pads. God, she was such a whore. Jake says, okay, Joey, fresh quarter. I'm gonna beat you this time. Okay, that's from Jake.
I'm 0 for 1 so far.
2 truths and a lie. You guys ready?
Yep. Born ready.
In an astounding display of
Hang
skill
on.
and dexterity.
You didn't play the thing.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Oh,
this isn't a legitimate game.
Felt like we were in a hurry. Okay, here we go.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies. Oh, no, you can't.
Okay, now it counts.
So real quick, to anybody who's tuning in, which I don't think we have anybody that are non-regulars here tonight, but if you are lurking and just watching and you want to participate in 2 Truths and a Lie, the only thing that I ask is that you do not cheat and look up. I'll get my mom finger out. Don't cheat. Do not look up the answer. It's way more fun if you just try to guess. I'm going to give you 3 stories. 2 of them are true. 1 of them is not true. You have to figure out which one is the lie. So,
I will.
Saber AR-10. Actually, I am in the process of securing said item for Indiana Apocalypse. So, hopefully that gets taken care of. So, you'll get to shoot it because I am excited to see you guys there. Okay. Story number 1. In an astounding display of skill and dexterity, a man has broken the world record for juggling, beating Alex Barron's 14 with 17 objects simultaneously. The mesmerizing feat was achieved in a thrilling performance witnessed by a captivated audience and streamed online, leaving viewers in awe of the jaw-dropping spectacle. The record-breaking juggler, known as the Master of Motion, meticulously choreographed the performance, incorporating an array of objects that included balls, rings, clubs, fruits, and even plates. With unrivaled precision and focus, he navigated the mesmerizing cascade of objects in a display of artistry and athleticism. That's story number 1. Story number 2. An Instagram influencer who shipped out to help Ukraine amid the ongoing bloody war with Russia has found her niche, aiding soldiers and volunteers as an emotional support stripper.
What a hero!
The 33-year-old bombshell, whose content includes videos of strip teases as air raids and sirens blare, and shirtless photos with rocket launchers, does everything from free emotional breastfeeding to soldiers and volunteers to distributing cash donations to Ukrainians. According to her OnlyFans profile, which states proceeds go towards her humanitarian efforts.
I'm going to believe that one is real because I need to.
Story number 3. A professor has urged stare downs to smokers in a disapproving way to help create a tobacco-free society.
I'm saying number 1's both BS.
People who have lit up in areas where it is prohibited are unlikely to hit back if everyone stares at them, local media has reported. Cigarettes can harm the health of us all. And when members of the public see people smoking in non-smoking areas, even if no law enforcement officers can show up, we can stare at the smokers.
Once you stare
at someone takes out a
you ever
cigarette,
heard of microplastics?
Sorry. When someone takes out a cigarette at the door of a restaurant, everyone on the premises can stare at that person. I do not believe that person would dare to hit back at everyone at the restaurant, as they are simply staring at them. Take lining up at a bus stop as an example. No one will say it requires the law to compel people to line up. Our society is able to create a culture where people will comply with this rule of lining up when waiting for buses. I hope the whole of society can build a non-smoking culture. Which story is the lie?
Number one. I feel
No,
great about
number
this
one. No, nobody's ever been mesmerized by a juggler.
Number one was too
People
well
are
written.
mesmerized
Number two
by
was too long.
anime characters, Fox. Cartoon characters who
Some
look
folks
like
are. Hey,
animals.
Akira was a great movie. Revolutionary, some say.
So, Eric, you say number one.
Uno.
Heather, look at the image I just shared.
The
The happy
juggler
hour.
who beat Alex Barron's 14 beanbags with 17 objects.
Fruits, plates. The master of motion, mesmerized. A little too much alliteration there. That's Heather.
Chris? Eric?
Will you say those headlines one more time for me?
Yes. Record broken as man successfully juggles 17 objects simultaneously. Influencer, an Instagram influencer, works as emotional support stripper in Ukraine. And people are urged to stare at smokers in a disapproving way to help create a tobacco-free society.
How dare you? How dare you?
I mean, obviously, I'm supposed to say one. What'd you say, Eric?
I said one.
I say three then. Nobody's saying three.
Oh, no.
Okay.
That was a misstep. Now I'm going to be ahead.
Jake
If it's
says
not, if
one.
it's not one.
Lexi
I
says
out all my
two.
strategies.
Joey says one. Fox, what
God
do you
dang
say?
it.
One. It has to be fake. There's no way.
Nobody's mesmerized by juggling.
You ever watched a really good juggler? All right.
If that was the case, like that would have been promoted all
If
over
the
Twitter.
Ukrainian support stripper was juggling, then I'd be mesmerized.
Have you never been to an NBA halftime show? Those Asian girls
Unicycles?
do like 300 plates on a unicycle.
No, have you seen the baseball
With like they
cheerleaders
spin
from
them.
Korea?
Yeah. They've
Those
done more than
girls.
17.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Number one is the lie.
Bullshit.
I
seen
saw
it with my
number
own eyes.
number
Circle
two
square.
has been on my feed like all week long, so I knew.
Yep,
that
I did see the stripper. So I had a 50-50 shot.
So I did put a grain of truth. Alex Barron did in fact juggle 14 beanbags. But
That is wild.
our master of motion did not juggle 7.
It was too well written. It was too eloquent.
Seriously.
And you read too much of the last one. The
See?
last one was too long. I was
Nah.
like, she didn't write this much.
Ow,
The
ow.
second
way
you
to
said
go.
mesmerized, I was like, nah, bullshit.
Master Emotion mesmerized. That was the red flag for me. I was like, that feels like Heather.
Oh man. Fucking NPC bullshit on TikTok.
$4,000
will-
to $7,000 a week. She's gonna
Eric,
be pissed you said that out loud.
I'm
when the
about to be
tax man
going.
cometh. My daughter taught me how to wave.
Pizza. Ow, ow. Yum, yum.
We always wave to each other like this. She says that's how NPCs wave.
Yeah.
What's
I
up
didn't
with
know I
this
could make funny.
NPC bullshit? Well, I just heard a whole deal on the radio about it on the way home
Non-player
from
characters?
the softball. Yeah, like men are falling in love with them, and so now women are trying to be them,
Yes.
but they're not as good as the MP or something because
It's all part of
like
the
we're
dumbing
getting
down
so
society.
selfish as a society that I only want to be with around anybody that just tells me exactly what I want to hear.
People who
they
act
have-
like the
they have
people in the
5
video
li-
games I like.
Yeah, they have 5 lines, and that's all they're allowed to say.
Yes.
I
They're
want my
whatever I
life.
want them to be.
I want my life to be just like the video game. Like people are
So-
gonna usher in the Wall-E era. Like, I mean, we're gonna
So
wall.
fast.
we're gonna love it. It's gonna
No.
no resistance.
It drives me crazy. Like and there are men who are doing it too. They're in their cars going. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
do it again.
Oh God, man. And they're making a shit ton of money too. That's the part that's just so. I bust my ass all fucking week. You guys do too. Putting out content, writing. Like I fucking
looking
wrote
at game logs from 1998 so I can come up with a good take on sports.
Right. I literally wrote an entire fucking article about a fake juggler and nothing. Like I get nothing. This bitch goes, pizza, yum yum, ow ow, and gets $7,000 a fucking day. Like what?
Yep.
You just need to invest in an ASMR audio recorder, or like, I guess Jake and I were planning on opening up a chicken shop. Just that's what we all need to do. Just go to McDonald's and get burnt by
Heavy Steps dropped in. He said, I'm here for the Barbie movie review. Am I in the right place? Bro, this is Oppenheimer's side in the Barbenheimer war.
He's bringing that Kinergy in.
Joey said, well, if y'all showed some more skin or something, I'm of course talking to the gentleman.
Maybe.
All you'll get with Fox is fur, so you can't have that, Joey.
Oh my God. I've had enough of this conversation.
Fox is never coming back. Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love you. Every Sunday night, if you enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe. We love you guys. Thanks for coming every week. Next week, I'm going to write a shittier article so that it is more in line with the rest of them. For Two Truths and a Lie. You guys take care. Have a great night.